While most people would ignore it, Robin turned it into music. That steady hum became the melody for "I Started a Joke." He later joked that he told the pilot to land so he could finish the song in a pub. The story wasn't true, but the inspiration was. Released in 1968, the song became one of his most emotional performances. Robin's voice sounded like it was holding back tears. That sadness and softness reached people everywhere. After his death in 2012, the song became a tribute to him. It was simple, haunting, and unforgettable. Many people began to take notice of that strange, trembling vibrato. Paul Gambaccini, a respected music historian, once called Robin one of the best white soul voices ever. It wasn't just praise, it was recognition. Robin didn't sound like anyone else. His voice cracked and trembled, not because it was weak, but because it was honest. Whether it was Massachusetts or "I Started a Joke," he delivered each line with weight. His voice felt like it had lived through everything it sang about. But that voice came at a cost. On July 27, 1968, Robin collapsed. He lost consciousness just as the band was preparing for a major U.S. tour. He was only 18 years old. Doctors diagnosed him with nervous exhaustion, though that was often a polite way of describing mental and physical burnout. The endless performances, interviews, and pressure had worn him down. He was placed in a nursing home in London, and the tour was cancelled. It wasn't just a pause. It was the first real sign that the demands of fame had become too much. Robin wasn't just tired, he was breaking. His recovery didn't go smoothly. After some rest, Robin relapsed. This time, he had to be flown back to Sussex to recover at home. The Bee Gees had to carry on without him, and something was missing. He missed recording sessions for their album Odessa, and the mood in the studio changed. Maurice and Barry pushed forward, but the bond that held them together was starting to stretch thin. That tension grew worse in 1969. Robin and Barry began clashing over creative choices. One fight stood out above the rest. Robin's song "Lamplight" had been chosen as the lead single in Germany, but in most other places, it was placed on the B-side of Barry's song "First of May." To Robin, it felt like a betrayal. He believed in that song. When it was pushed aside, he saw it as proof that his ideas no longer mattered. In March 1969, he made a decision. He quit. Robin was only 19, but the fallout was huge. Rumors swirled that he was using drugs, and his parents considered taking legal action to make him a ward of court. Under British law, adulthood didn't begin until 21. They feared he was losing control. Though no official action was taken, the worry was real. The pressure, the isolation, and the growing conflict had taken a toll on all of them. His final performances with the Bee Gees came on Top of the Pops and The Tom Jones Show. After that, he was gone. Lawsuits followed. Contracts were disputed. Robin's solo work was delayed, but he kept going. In June 1969, he released Saved by the Bell. It was a hit. By July 9th, it had reached number 2 on the UK charts. It also topped the charts in South Africa, Ireland, and New Zealand, and hit number 3 in Germany. The US response was lukewarm, but Europe embraced it. Maurice even played piano and organ on the track, proving that family ties hadn't broken entirely. Robin also worked with other artists. Along with Barry and Maurice, he wrote Only One Woman for the duo The Marbles. It reached number 5 in the UK in 1968 and stayed in the top 10 for weeks. He helped them with other songs too, including The Walls Fell Down. Even while apart from the Bee Gees, Robin kept proving he could write, sing, and create without limits. Still, the absence of Robin hit the Bee Gees hard. Barry and Maurice continued, but the magic wasn't there. They played to near-empty venues and struggled financially. Barry once admitted that he considered quitting music altogether and taking a regular office job. Confidence faded. Money ran out. It was their lowest point. In August 1970, something shifted. Robin came back. The reunion wasn't easy. It took time, conversations, and the quiet realization that their strength was in unity. All three brothers had tried solo work, but none of them could match what they had together. They called it the magic of the three. In the 1960s, they were seen as British pop stars, but by the early 1970s, that image was fading fast. Their album, Mr. Natural, barely reached number 178 in the US. Another album, Life in a Tin Can, failed to make an impact. Critics often called them Beatles imitators, and there didn't seem to be a clear way back. Then in 1975, things took a sharp turn. The brothers moved to Miami, following advice from Eric Clapton and the guidance of producer Arif Mardin. They started recording at Criteria Studios and became surrounded by a new music scene filled with rhythm, bass, and energy. That change in atmosphere helped shape a new sound. They blended R&B, stronger beats, clean production, and Barry Gibb's falsetto voice, which made its first big appearance on Nights on Broadway. That voice would go on to become their signature. Their new song, Jive Talkin', was inspired by the sound of their car tires hitting bumps on a Miami causeway. It quickly climbed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Their album, Main Course, went gold. You Should Be Dancing followed soon after, and confirmed they had found a whole new sound. Longtime fans were shocked. Some even felt let down. But the Bee Gees didn't just revive their career. They ended up setting the tone for a whole generation of music. When Robert Stigwood asked the Bee Gees to write songs for a new film called Saturday Night Fever, they had no idea what was coming. It was 1977, and the film was already deep into production. The soundtrack wasn't even finished yet. The brothers locked themselves in a French chateau, and, in a matter of days, wrote 5 songs. Those songs were Stayin' Alive, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love, More Than a Woman, and If I Can't Have You, which was performed by Yvonne Elliman. These songs would go on to define an entire era. Their work wasn't just in the writing. Their sound shaped the production of the entire soundtrack. The results were massive. Stayin' Alive became more than a hit. Its 103 beats per minute was later used to teach the timing of CPR. Night Fever held the top spot on the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 weeks. 4 songs written by the Bee Gees reached number 1 in the US between 1977 and 1978. These were Stayin' Alive, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love, and If I Can't Have You. No other team had ever done that before. The melodies carried urgency and hope. The lyrics captured a feeling that spoke to millions. Their music didn't just play in clubs. It captured the world. When the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack came out in November 1977, it became a cultural moment. Before Michael Jackson's Thriller, it held the record for the best-selling album in the world. It sold over 40 million copies globally. In the US alone, it was certified 16 times platinum and stayed at number 1 for 24 straight weeks. It stayed on the Billboard Top 200 for 120 weeks. In France, it sold 1.97 million copies by early 1979 and passed 2.1 million by 1981. It won the Grammy for Album of the Year in 1979. The Library of Congress added it to the National Recording Registry for its cultural value. For the Bee Gees, this wasn't just another hit. It turned them into global stars. They were no longer just musicians. They were the faces of disco. Their sound was the sound of the late 70s. Robin Gibb didn't stop at Bee Gees Records. He and his brothers wrote hits for other major artists. In 1980, they worked with Barbra Streisand on her album Guilty. The song Woman in Love stayed at #1 in the US for 3 weeks and became her biggest global single. Robin also contributed to Guilty and What Kind of Fool, both duets. In 1983, they wrote Islands in the Stream for Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. It was originally meant for Marvin Gaye, but became a #1 hit across the Atlantic in its final form. The Bee Gees also sang background vocals on it. Kenny Rogers' album Eyes That See in the Dark had several songs written by the brothers. In 1985, Diana Ross had a hit with Chain Reaction, written and produced by all 3 Bee Gees. It reached #1 in the UK. They also worked with Dionne Warwick and their younger brother Andy Gibb. Robin's voice and writing helped shape pop music far beyond the Bee Gees' own albums. Over the years, the Bee Gees sold more than 220 million records around the world. Even conservative estimates put them above 120 million. This puts them among the top-selling artists of all time. Only names like Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Michael Jackson are clearly ahead. The Saturday Night Fever soundtrack alone accounts for more than 40 million sales. Their 1979 album, Spirits Having Flown, added another 20 million. Robin Gibb's personal story took a dark turn when he began using methadone at age 17. It's a powerful form of methamphetamine that many musicians use to stay awake. Robin would stay up for days, skipping sleep and food, writing songs all night in a blur of activity.